Welcome, software engineers, to week 3 of CSC 222 software engineering. Boy, I felt badly we could not meet on Monday. I bet you felt badly too. Monday was a Labor Day holiday. Don't you find it strange that a day set aside to give thanks to God for the vocation of work and labor, you're not supposed to do any? You would think the right way to celebrate Labor Day would be to work extra hard. I do hope you had the opportunity to take a little bit of time away. At the same time, we've got lots to do, so thanks for working on things too. Did I share with you, my family has we've done a Labor Day fair. We were adding it up. This is the 19th year we've done it, my immediate family, which is 5 children, 9 grandchildren. So you include all the spouses. Not everybody could make it, but we could potentially have 20 people crammed into my little house. Fortunately, I have 5 acres of land, trying to keep everybody outside. That'd be the way to do it. I looked at the weather report and I know it's extremely hot there. I'm sorry, I feel badly for that. I am a California native. I grew up in Northern California, Sacramento, California. Be not unusual to have 115 degrees in the middle of August, but that would go away fairly quickly. But I know that it's hot. I have relatives still, Northern California, 115 in Red Bluff, etc. So I feel badly. I won't tell you how nice it is here in Mequon, Wisconsin. Quiz 1 that you did last week over the first week's reading. Folks, you did really, my picture didn't show up. Darn. The average was 90%. You did spectacularly well. There was only one question that less than 3/4 of the folks got, and it was supposed to be on this image here, and I can't remember exactly what it was. I'll have to look at that. If you have a question about any of the questions, feel free to ask. You can see your quiz, but it's set up on Blackboard to allow you to see it after everybody has completed it. If you look online at Blackboard, you will see there is a quiz 2. We'll jump into Blackboard a little bit. Quiz 2 is over last week's material. So very similar that you saw quiz 1, true, false questions. Every once in a while, there may be a multiple choice, but it will typically be 10 true, false questions. Open book, open notes, closed neighbor. Please don't discuss it or work together on the quiz. And closed online resources. I really don't think that would be helpful at all. As long as you've read it, paid attention during discussion, I think you're A-okay, as you all proved during quiz 1. You will allow me to review some things? Thank you. Software and I always abbreviate things. I think you've seen S/W as software before. H/W is hardware. ENGR means whatever I want it to, either software engineering, the discipline, software engineer, the person. Software engineering can be defined as the management of the entire software development process. When I ask you this question on exam 1, when I ask you define software engineering, begin with this, but don't end here. This is like 1 out of 5 points. There's a lot more. You've read about it. We've discussed some things. It is the management of the entire software development process, and that encompasses lots of things. Not classical management, but other things. Boss, how's your creativity coming along? Dilbert, I don't have any. Your management style makes me focus all my energy on staying out of trouble. Your insubordination is unacceptable. And there it is. So when I talk about management, when you see management, and as you've read in the text, you know this is not just talking about this stereotypical Dilbert and boss relationship. It's talking about everything that happens during the software development process. Another way to think about software engineering is to describe it. A description is not a definition, but it's a way to understand it simplistically. Software engineering can be described as professional problem solving. And each week, I want to share with you an aspect of professionalism. Rather than defining it, I think it's easier to see some characteristics, attributes of professionalism. Last week, then, we took a look at my number one, being dedicated or being committed. My second aspect or characteristic of professionalism is being civil. The word civil is the root of civilization. It's how human beings can get along. You wouldn't understand this. The president of Concordia University, Wisconsin, is known for wearing bow ties. As a matter of fact, when he comes into the gym, people start chanting bow tie. Bow ties are kind of cool. I like them too. But Dr. Ferry knows how to tie a bow tie. I mean, I've got some clip-on ones, but he can actually do, I got to learn that. I think that's kind of cool. I use him as my model for civility. If you know anything about Chuck Norris, and this is not the joke, Chuck Norris has never felt the need to swear. In any movie, in any interpersonal communications, you'd be hard pressed to find Chuck Norris unleashing some body language. As a matter of fact, this is Chuck Norris in one of the Expendable movies, and he didn't really want to be in that one, and he wasn't in the other ones. And his stated reason was he didn't see a need for all of the language that was in it. And when you're Chuck Norris, you don't need to swear. That's not proving anything. Or our second champion of civility, Captain America. And if you're involved in the MCU, then you know language. And Captain America is our good. Yep. Language. That Tony Stark guy. Who could take him seriously when he has such a vile tongue? Civility, interaction among human beings, this is an important professional attribute. If you're ringside at a boxing match or sitting in, oh no, I don't know, a sports arena in Southern California. What's the new football stadium in Southern Cal? Oh, where do the Rams, and somebody's going to tell me, thank you. Okay. You're not. Is it really? SoFi. What is that? Yes. Is SoFi a company? Is it a person? Is it a city? All right. You know what? That should be on me. I should figure these things out. When you're watching a football game, I suppose if your speech isn't civil, that's okay. That's a little investment app. Oh, okay. Yeah. That probably makes sense. Thank you. Yeah. These people shell out $25 to $50 million for naming rights, and it takes a while for it to catch on, and we know what they're doing. Sorry, moral of the story, in professional interactions in the workplace, you know what happens. As soon as somebody starts letting things go, then we're losing our temper and life is not good. Speaking of football, you'll find this strange that somebody who lives in Wisconsin, when I cared a lot about football, and it's been a few years, I followed the Indianapolis Colts. This is Tony Dungy, NFL football player for Pittsburgh and a few other teams, turned coach. He's since retired. You may see him as an analyst on one of the networks there. But Tony Dungy was famous for civility to everyone. This was as angry as Coach Dungy ever got on the sidelines. You never saw him getting in somebody's face, letting loose with 1,000 four-letter words. On the other hand, maybe this is Coach Harbaugh saying hi to his mother. I had to Photoshop out one of his fingers. This is about as civil as Coach Harbaugh ever is. I think we know who we'd rather have interacting with us. Thank you. When you do something that I don't like, I'll let you know by cursing and then spitting on your forehead. Maybe you could just tell me what I did wrong. Okay. Thank you for playing along with me for an attribute of professionalism, being civil. Last time we talked, we sort of overviewed the requirements phase, and I'm going to ask you to read more about it in the text. Let me again talk about the requirements phase in a little more depth. We'll do a couple other things today, including talking about the assignment and including looking at it, seeing if we can answer your questions, etc. The very first phase of the software development lifecycle is the requirements phase. The requirements phase is designed to focus on these questions or these statements. Number one, why is there a problem? The very first step in problem solving. That might have been one of the questions that tricked people up. The first aspect of problem solving is not planning a solution, it's understanding the problem. So the first thing we do in the requirements phase of software engineering is we ask and then we answer this question. Why is there a problem? That leads directly to answering this question. Now that I know why there's a problem, what exactly is the problem? You cannot effectively answer the what question without also answering the why question beforehand. Another why question. Why is a technological solution necessary? That seems odd. Seems like, well, of course, the solution to every problem is some piece of technology, some app, some system, some whatever. Not necessarily. You will find that in industry, if you can point out that either a tech solution is not needed or a new tech solution isn't needed, I think that will be well received. There is no reason to reinvent the wheel. All right, why is tech needed? Why do you need to add numbers? Can't you just do that in your head? No. Productivity and efficiency means we need technology to do it. And then the last major question addressed in the requirements phase is, okay, so what is needed to solve this problem? And yes, that could be a desktop app like we focused on. It could be a mobile app, could be a website, could be lots of different things. What is needed to solve the problem? These are the fundamental questions that need to be answered during requirements phase. Who answers them? We do, the software engineer. How? Interacting with the user. You can't make this stuff up on your own. You need to interact with the client and the user. Now, let me give you an example, a non-tech example, though. I didn't get this set up beforehand. That's okay. You can see me try to do this. You may be familiar with the narrative that begins in Genesis 6 and ends in Genesis 9. That picture may give you insight into what we're talking about. We're talking about the flood of Noah's day. Some people call it Noah's flood. It was not his flood. He just rode it out. I wanted to read you just a couple bits out of Genesis 6, because here we see a good example of requirements. Now, before I look at that with you, why is there a problem? What is the problem? If you've already had the required theology classes there at Irvine, and I'm sorry I don't know the names, here at Concordia Mequon, we ask our undergraduates to take 3 required theology courses: a Bible content course, either Old Testament or New Testament, a what's that second course called? Religion 100, Elements of the Christian Faith. And then the third one is a elective of some kind. If you haven't had the required religion courses there, you may not be familiar with the narrative. But even for those of you that have, or for those of you that grew up Christian, Lutheran, thank you. Intro to Theological Thought, Intro to Old Testament, Intro to New Testament. Oh, very good. Yeah. We used to require both OT and NT and the equivalent Introduction to Theological Thought, but then we wanted folks to have a little bit of say. I like that. So good. Do it. Even if you know this narrative, even if you know what happened, many people overlook why there was a problem and what really was the problem. If you don't have a hard copy Bible, some of you know you can see the biblical text online. The site that I like to use, I don't have it connected here, so you'll see ads and stuff. But the site that I like to use, if I'm just going to look up something online, is BibleGateway.com. If you're not familiar with the Bible, it's a collection of 66 unique books. They all have a name. And like any book we're familiar with, there's chapters in it. Something else that's unusual, though, is each chapter is further subdivided into verses, just to make it easier to find things. Wickedness in the world is the heading in the New International Version. The Lord said, "My spirit will not contend with humans forever. They are mortal. Their days will be 120 years. So here, even before we get to this, it's always good when somebody pulls out something out of the biblical text, see the context. Look before it, look after it, know what the chapter, know what the book is about. The Lord saw how great the wickedness of the human race had become on the earth, and that every inclination of the thoughts of the human heart was only evil all the time. The Lord regretted that he made human beings on earth, and his heart was deeply troubled. So the Lord said, I will wipe them from the face of the earth, the human race I have created, and with them the animals, the birds, and the creatures that move along the ground. But Noah found favor in the eyes of the Lord. If you start reading here, you'll still get the same sense. The heading that says Noah and the flood. This is the account of Noah. Now the earth was corrupt in God's sight and was full of violence. So God saw how corrupt it was. I'm going to put an end to all people, for the earth is filled with violence. The story of Noah is really the story of grace. Noah wasn't better than anybody else. He wasn't more spiritual than other people. God reached down to him, declared him righteous, and yeah, we know the story of building the ark. Okay. Why is there a problem? Don't jump ahead and say, well, there's going to be a big flood. No, that's not really the heart of the problem. Why is there a problem? The sin of human beings. Human beings willfully separating themselves and rebelling against God. What's the problem? God's going to wipe everything out. Those are the requirements at the beginning. Why is tech needed? Well, in order to save Noah and a representative of the kinds of animals on planet Earth, we're going to need this high-tech floating vehicle, this ark. Exactly. What I'm saying is, spend the time truly understanding the problem. Even if you think to know what the problem is, whether that's add numbers or whether that's Noah and the Ark or whatever it might be sure that you spend some time thinking deeply about it. And by the way, you can't figure it out on your own. You're going to have to ask the user. As we saw in the last 2 weeks, every phase of software engineering has milestones, targets, things that I can say, here's something to prove that I've done a certain aspect of the phase. In requirements, the first milestone is problem definition. That's a document. That's a document that focuses on the problem, as the name implies. Why is there a problem? What is the problem? If it's the flood of Noah's day, that's not very long, just a few sentences. If it's our add numbers app, not very long, just a few sentences. Many reasonable problems have a why and a what that can be fairly straightforward. Many problem definition documents are not books, nor are they 10-page documents. I've seen lots of problem defs that are a page or 2. The next milestone is the system requirements. We move from the problem to what's needed to solve it and why. Why do you need a technological solution? And what specific type of tech? For us, that would include things like it's a Windows environment. And for those of us on a Mac, that's created lots of consternation. I know. I'm still working with my own IT support department trying to get, they've tried 5 different things to try to get my Windows to activate. And today when they did it, it really got. And why? What's needed? A Windows desktop app. Why? Because our user has an industrial PC that runs the Windows operating system. Don't go right away. What's going on here? When Zeb crashed his German luxury car into a tree, he discovered how the Mercedes bends. That'd be funny, except for that horrible, the person walked away from that. Mercedes are fairly expensive cars. Mercedes has spent a lot of time analyzing crashes, figuring out what goes wrong and why it goes wrong. And man, that engine just went below. Amazing. Oh, but you laughed, right? Mercedes Benz. The third milestone is a prototype. That's what you did in homework assignment 1. A prototype is a great way to visualize the requirements. We can talk about different cars all the time. We could talk about a gull wing door. We can talk about the angle of the hood. But there's something about an actual model, whether that's a physical one in clay you can pick up, work with, or whether it's 3D rendering. Visualize the requirements. So requirements, 3 milestones. For us as computer scientists, what's important for us to remember about requirements? What we're going to focus on in this phase is the outputs. Our concern during requirements is to determine the outputs. Why? Because the outputs are the information required which solves the user's problem. To prove that you understand requirements, you have completely listed all the outputs that your system's going to produce, and the user agrees. What do you need? Running total. Got it. We're going to focus on the outputs. We're going to see how this works. I didn't even preface this. I'm going to just pull it on you. We'll see how many people are actually awake. I am struggling making connections because I don't get to see you. And some of you say, lucky for you, mister. What I'm going to do in just a minute is we're going to go around the logical Zoom room. And I'm going to ask you, I think I've got this set up such that the system's going to ask you, you'll get a little notification, unmute. And then if you would, I would love it if you could turn on your camera. I'd also love it if, well, you need to turn on your microphone to answer these questions. Don't do it in chat, okay? Now, just so yeah, that'll be okay, right? Sure. What I want to do, come on, little system, is the order that I see people is different than the order. If you look at the participants, you can see a certain order, and typically you're near the top of those things. I see it in a different way, but I should get my system to be able to ping you, and then it will ask you to unmute. Okay. Nope, it ain't working. Maybe it'll work now. When I do that, would you please tell me your name? And by the way, if you go by a nickname, that's just fine. Just tell me that. Would you tell me your favorite season? I don't mean football. I mean spring, summer, fall, winter. And you can either tell me a recent movie you saw or a recent book you read and your favorite soft drink. Now, in the Midwest, people have a big debate. Do you call soft drinks soda or pop? Being a California native, at least Northern California, we called everything Coke. Didn't matter what it was. You'd order a Coke and they'd say, is Dr. Pepper fine? I said, yeah, that's what I want. Okay, are you ready? When you get the little signal, would you unmute? And if you turn on your camera too, if you can, that would be very cool. Andy, I think you got it, right?
Yeah. Hi,
Good.
I'm Andy. My favorite season is winter. A recent movie that I saw would probably be Top Gun, like the new one.
Mm-hmm.
And then my favorite soft drink would be Sprite.
Okay. Okay. Good. Thank you. Well, I'm reading about that. All right. Next.
My name is Andrew. My favorite season is winter, and I haven't seen a movie in a bit, but a TV show that I saw is the new Rings of Power, Lord of the Rings TV show. And
What
favorite soft drink is also Sprite.
Sprite. Okay. Where's this series? Who carries this?
It is on Amazon Prime, I believe.
Okay. All right. Good. Thank you, Andrew. Oops. Come on.
Hello. Greetings. My name is Benjamin. My favorite season, like most people in California, is winter because it's hot every other time of the year. I haven't been watching movies, but a book that I read recently was called Has American Christianity Failed by Brian Wolfmuller. Very good book. And my favorite soft drink, I don't actually drink soda, so I wouldn't know. But when I did drink way back in the day, maybe like grape soda or something.
Okay. All right. Good. Thank you. Yep. There we go.
Hi, my name is Brian. My favorite season is spring, and a recent series I watched was The Peaky Blinders on Netflix. And my favorite soft drink is Mountain Dew.
Okay. Very good. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Chin. My favorite season is summer, and my favorite soft drink would be Sprite, I guess. And a recent show or movie I've seen would be The Blacklist on Netflix. Really good show. Check it out.
Mm-hmm. Good. Thank you. How can this? Okay. Sorry. There we go. Oops.
Hello, my name is Frank. My name is Baker, and you can call me Frank. And my favorite season is summer because summer have a summer break. And the recent movie I saw is Dragon Ball Superhero. My favorite soft drink is Coca-Cola.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Hi, my name's Karna. My favorite season is winter for sure. And the recent movie that I watched is Black Phone. And my favorite soft drink, I don't really have any because I don't really drink soda, but if I did drink soda, I guess it would be Diet Coke.
Okay. Diet Coke works. Good.
I can go. My name's Koa. My favorite season is fall. A recent movie I saw was probably Minions. And then my favorite soft drink is probably Sprite. I'll take Sprite.
Okay. All right. Good. Thank you. Sorry, folks. This is just dragging here on me.
Hi, my name is Kosi. My favorite season is spring. And a recent movie I watched was Jordan Peele's movie Nope. And my favorite soft drink is Fanta.
Okay. Good. Yeah, Fanta orange or some other flavor?
Orange.
Okay, good. Thank you. Come on.
Hello, my name's Kyle Murphy. Favorite season is winter. Recent movie I saw was Phantom of the Open. It's a really good golf movie. Favorite soft drink, probably Diet Coke.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Hi, my name's Kyle. My favorite season is winter. And the most recent series I just watched was Game of Thrones. And my favorite soft drink is Dr. Pepper.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Hi, my name's Liam. My favorite season would be spring. A recent movie I saw was I Am. And my favorite soft drink, I would say, is probably ginger ale.
Okay, good.
Hi, I'm Maggie. My favorite season is fall. A recent movie I just watched was Titanic, and my favorite soft drink is Diet Coke.
Good.
Hey, I'm Michael. My favorite season is fall. The most recent show I've seen was Community, and my favorite soft drink's probably Sprite.
Good.
I'm Ridge. My favorite season is winter. Recent movie I saw was probably Thor, and my favorite soft drink is Sprite, I guess.
Okay, good.
My name's Ryan Sue. My favorite season is winter. A recent movie I saw was Top Gun, and my favorite drink would have to be Shirley Temples.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Ryan. My favorite season is spring. TV show I've been watching is King of the Hill, and favorite soft drink I think is Sprite.
Okay, good.
Hi, I'm Tamsin. My favorite season is probably spring, and the recent movie I watched was Top Gun, the first one. And then my favorite soft drink, probably Diet Coke.
Okay, Good. Oops, I couldn't hear you, Tanner. Did it go through there?
Yeah, can you
Yeah,
hear me?
yeah, now we're set.
Okay. All right, my name's Tanner. Favorite season, probably winter. Last movie I saw was also Top Gun. And favorite soft drink, probably Diet Coke.
Okay, good.
My name is Kyle Christensen. My favorite season is summer. I've been rewatching Better Call Saul, and my favorite soft drink is Dr. Pepper.
Okay, good.
Hi, I'm Timmy. My favorite season is probably late winter / early spring, which should be its own season. Last movie I saw is Sonic 2. My favorite soft drink is Sprite.
Okay, good. Thank you. No. Now I got hung up. I have to keep. One more time. There we go. No, no.
Is it my turn?
Yeah, Victor,
Sorry.
your turn.
Yeah, I just went to the bathroom and then.
Oh, sorry. Yep.
So my name is Victor Berg. Favorite season is summer, obviously because it's hot and you can do a lot of stuff. A recent movie I saw is actually a Disney. I don't remember the name of the movie, but it's a pretty cool Disney movie. And favorite soft drink is Dr. Pepper.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Yes, I'm Youngie, and my favorite season is winter. And then recently I watched Top Gun also, and my favorite soft drink is Diet Coke. Yeah.
Okay, good. Thank you. Folks, somewhere in the middle, I think this, if I missed you, would you just feel free to unmute and introduce yourself? I apologize. Something was hanging here in the middle.
May I introduce myself?
Yes.
Hi, my name is Fatima. My favorite season is fall, and the book that I read was, I am reading, is Midnight Library. It's really good. I recommend it. And my favorite soft drink, actually just drink water. I love water, so water.
Okay. All right. No, yeah, that's good. That's fair. Thank you. Who did I miss? Anybody else?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Hi, my name's Tanner. My favorite season is winter. A recent movie I saw would be The Night Shift. It's on Netflix. It's actually really good. And then my favorite soft drink, I am addicted to Dr. Pepper. like bad.
Bad. Okay, good. Good. Thank you. Anybody else? I hate technology. Trying to get all this stuff to work. All right. Folks, thank you very much. I appreciate getting a chance to hear and see you just a little bit, putting a face to a name, etc. That's very helpful. My favorite season is fall. The most recent movie I saw was Spider-Man No Way Home Extended Edition. I couldn't tell what was different. My favorite soft, I drink Diet Coke. If I could drink regular soda, it'd be Dr. Pepper. That's what I drank growing up. All right, now you know. Let me say a couple things about assignment 1, the prototype. In general, if a prototype looks anything like this, you're doing it wrong. Now, I know yours didn't, but the general software engineering catchphrase is, if your UI, I'm using some abbreviations and I may not have ever defined them. UI is user interface. That's what you actually visualize and can interact with. If your UI even vaguely resembles an airplane cockpit, you're doing it wrong. Too much. And we'll talk about a related term in just a bit, the UX, the user experience. UI, user interface, UX, user experience. Okay. The purpose of a prototype. Here, look, I finally defined them. Should have had this one first. The purpose of a prototype is to consider both outputs and inputs. What will the user receive as information? What does the user supply as data? In computer science, input is more than just data. Input also relates to commands. So far on our little app there, we've got an input box where we'd actually type in data, but we also have a command button, the add or compute or whatever you called it. And here in assignment 4, which we'll talk about in a little bit, I wanted you to add a clear to that, also a clear button. The user interface, again, is the physical properties of what I'm interacting with and how I do that. The UX is, just as the name implies, how is my experience? The user interface can give people a good, valuable, pleasant experience. It could also give them the opposite of that. A poor UI provides a poor user experience. Users are frustrated, they're angry, and they take it out on me. Nobody likes that. Oh, come on. This is what I showed you last week. Now, if your prototype didn't look like this, that's okay, but let's talk about some concepts, some heuristics of a good user interface. A good UI provides a great user experience. Now, later in this course, we're going to talk all about the characteristics of both the user interface, the UI, and how that relates to a user experience, a UX. But in general, users think this way. I'm trying to figure out why that first dash is long and the second one is. Users think in terms of IPO. Again, I'm sorry, abbreviations that probably mean nothing to you. When a user is solving a problem with an app, users think, okay, I've got to provide this input, it's going to process it, and then I'm going to get this output. Input, process, output. The focus on the UX is put yourself in the user's position. What does the user know? How adept, how technically adept is the user? Is this user just a regular user, a novice user, a power user? The user interface will help determine the user experience. If I go back to this here, what I have laid out and is the classic vertical good UX. Users think input, process, output. And on here you see, here's my input, labeled by the way. Here's my process, and here's my output. At least in the Western Hemisphere, when we think about things, we think about either top to bottom or left to right, because that's how we read. So a user interface should follow those general rules: input, process, output. And here's some other things. You didn't have to do an undo. We'll talk about that later. Okay, we're going to have another joke. Otherwise, I can't get through it. Woo. Zeke, look at this headline. I can't believe it. The headline says 3 Brazilians die in flood. Zeb is just all broken up. I mean, he can't deal with it. Finally, he says, "Oh, that's terrible. By the way, how many is a Brazilian?" Okay. I was working on this one. See, 3 Brit. You don't want me to, it's okay. I don't have to do it. Even in the very first week, I mentioned the goal of software engineering is to produce an acceptable product. News article. Happy customers, quality code, the new trends in software development. We surveyed 500 professional software engineers to find out what the future of the industry looks like. Many developers today feel like they're building a rocket ship only to launch it into a black hole. They do all this work for something and then never really know if it's valuable to their customers. But modern software development life cycles, techniques, processes are supposed to connect us with the customer. Focusing on quality and focusing on the user experience are really beneficial. Ultimately, our goal is an acceptable product. Acceptable to whom? And the answer is the user. The user determines. Happy customers? Yeah. But many of these folks that are surveyed said, I don't know if my user is happy or not. Why? Because they can never interact with the customer or the user. That's something that needs to be changed. So just to place where we're at. Oh, man. I thought I'd change this. Can I peek ahead? Can I peek ahead? I don't want to do that. Where's the thing? Okay, here it is. All right, good. To ground ourselves, 6 phases in the software development lifecycle that we're going to be working with that I'm introducing. We've looked at the first one, requirements. Lots more to come. You've done many of these things, and I know that the instantiation part has been difficult because you've actually had to create C#, not knowing C# very well. And part of the whole instantiation process is also understanding your development environment. If you were already a guru in developing Windows Forms app, you wouldn't have to worry about all this stuff with Visual Studio and everything else, but we're not. That is part of this phase. And many of you can tell how much time and effort you've put into just setting up the environment. For some, we're still not set up yet. And how little code actually came out. That's why, again, the coding aspect of software development is a small fraction, maybe 20%. And we've all enjoyed the pleasures and pitfalls of deployment, trying to rename that file, get it up to Blackboard, and then some of you discovering that Visual Studio 2022, depending upon how you set it up, can change things, at least from what I was expecting, and require some different things beyond the executable. We'll work through all these. It's okay. It's part of the process. To us as teacher and you as student going through it right now, it feels, yeah, why isn't it all laid out? Why isn't this working well? Why can't? That's the reality of professional software engineering. When you're working in industry, they're just going to throw you in a corner and say, have at it, kid. Figure this all out. Yeah. Good training. Thanks for doing that. You read in the text about waterfall. The waterfall model was one of the very first software development life cycles. The waterfall model was rigid. It said, first you do this, you end, and then you move to step 2. You do that, you end, you move to step 3. It's not very realistic. it's very hard, for example, to know all of the requirements before you do anything. Before you do specs or design or instantiation or deploy, it's very hard to know all the requirements up front. Modern software engineering, modern SDLCs are a little more fluid, moving back and forth. And when we really get into the Scrum model later, you'll see that. All right. Homework assignment 4. Now, if you ran into problems, I know it's due today, but if you ran into problems, it's okay. Keep working on it. I want to see if there are questions. I wanted to show you the code, but my IT support department threw my Windows partition into a tizzy. I'll go there. It's just not going to do anything. But I might be able to pretend I know the answers to some questions here. Here is one possibility. This is very important. If you've missed this concept of event-driven, if you're still struggling with how in the world do I add numbers with a single input box, we need to get through this. We need to understand it, okay? Now, this is what I want to do. Can I page ahead just a minute? Okay. I had a specific question about this, and I know last time I said, go figure it out. I do want to share with you, especially if I get a question about it, and because it just came in today, here it is. One of the things I asked you to consider is the way we did the form before. I had to click here, I had to click here. Well, if I'm typing things on the keyboard, sometimes it's nice to just be able to press the return or the enter key. And I asked you to set that up. How do you do that? That's a property on your form. So in Studio, select the form, not any element on the form. Don't select that button. Don't select that text box. Click on the form itself, and then bring up the properties window. And you'll notice that there, one of the parameters is what is the accept button. That would be, I forget if it says none or not assigned or something like that. But you can change this. The name of this element is button 1. When I change this to button 1, then what happens is I can type something here, I can press the return or enter key, rather than having to move my mouse pointer and click here. It's just a more pleasant user experience. It's just better. All right, now, this is what I want to do. If you feel very confident, if you said, look, I understand what I needed to do an assignment for, mine looks something like this. I understand this running total design pattern. I'm starting to get event-driven stuff. This makes sense to me. Type in one value, click compute. Type in another value, click compute. Type in a third value, click compute, and the running. If this makes sense and you feel comfortable about assignment 4, I'm going to say you are done. Oh, other than look online at Blackboard. Don't forget there's a quiz this week for the previous week's reading. And you'll also see homework assignment 7. Yeah, I know the numbers are way off. Initially up front, when I was lining out things, I said, this is what I want to do, but we got to make sure that we're all at the same place before we do other things. So don't let the numbers throw you. Take a look at assignment 7. It's not due until the end of next week, so we have next week to talk about it also, okay? If you felt comfortable with what you did in assignment 4, and because it was just due today, I don't have any feedback yet, but you will, then you're done. Feel free to check out. You can leave right now. This is not a trick. It's okay, because what I'm going to be talking about is I will be talking about what to do. And the question that's popping up is, can we resubmit this later today? Even if I've turned it in and now I see something, the answer is yes, absolutely. What I want for these first couple ones is I want everybody to get it So yes, resubmit it. That's just fine. I think Blackboard is set up to allow you to do that. I will double check, if not my fault. Okay. All right. While you're thinking about questions, let me just, I'm going to go over into Blackboard and just point out a couple things. If you didn't see these the first time, maybe this will be helpful. Oh, I've been in contact with your, I forget what your IT support department is called. Maybe it's ITS or something similar. And they tell me that they can give students a licensed copy of Windows. Thank you, ITS, yeah. What I need to do is to provide them with all of your e-numbers, etc. So I just got that message today. I'm going to do that later today. So if you need a licensed copy of Windows because you're running on a Mac or other kinds of things, I think we can do it. Stay tuned for that. In Unit 1, then, at the end of the first week, this running total idea. This is a very common, what's called design pattern. Running total idea is a common problem to solve in computer science. Now, most of us think in terms of data-driven. If I asked you to write whatever language you're most familiar with, some C variant, Java, Python, or whatever, don't worry about C++, C sharp. If I asked you, I mean, most of us would think this way, okay, I got to do a loop, etc. That's a very data-driven way of doing it. The data that's input is going to determine what happens. Instead, you needed to think about an event-driven program where the user commands what happens. If you take a look at the, I don't think I put that in the outlines for the day, but if you take a look, if you review the video, especially near the end of last time when I had Visual Studio up and working on the Windows side of my computer, I showed you some code there. It wasn't the full and complete thing, but it was something to get you started. So if you take a look at the one for 30, I'm not going to go into this because sometimes Zoom gets a little hanky when I'm broadcasting and recording via Zoom, and then I bring up a Zoom recording. But you take a look near the end of last time to actually see the code itself. I should have also put it on slide somewhere today, but I did not. Do I have that anywhere? Oh, yeah, here it is. Okay. Now, this isn't all you need to do for homework assignment 4, but I just want you to notice some things. This code under this method, button 1 click, this code is executed when the user presses that button. Otherwise, it doesn't happen. When you run your app, it just sits there. It just sits there waiting for an event, which could be lots of different things, but for us, it's pressing a button. So this is not going to happen. Now, the form class is actually executing. So what's up in the form class, that is going to happen as soon as you launch your app. And notice what I did here. I set a variable called running total to 0. So every time I launch this, I have a defined running total currently set to 0. So it's just sitting there, la, 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 la. And when you click that button, what's it going to do? It's going to, first of all, grab what's in that input box. You typed in something there. It's going to grab it, assign it to that variable. Then it's going to add it to the current running total. First time, that's 0. It is then going to output that and then update this running total variable. There's a shorter, more concise way of expressing the same thing. I don't really need two different variables, output and running total, but I'm doing that for clarity so you can understand it. All right, so let's look at the form again. I launch the form. I have a variable called running total that's set to 0. I type a value in here like 25 or 2.7. I click here and I see 2.7 here. I can now pause for a very long time, go back, click on that and type in a 5, compute running total. Now it's 5 plus the previous value of running total 2.7 for 7.7 that is displayed, and the new running total is updated. Notice you don't have to worry about a flag. You don't have to type in 0. None of that. It's all happening here. Now, if you decided to approach this by having multiple input boxes, don't do it. That's not event-driven programming. It's not what users are expecting. It's a poor user experience. If you wanted the user to type, if you wanted the user to type in 5 things separated by commas, that will work, but it's not what I want you to do. It's a more difficult user experience. We want the user experience to be good. That's how we think, right? Number, do it. Number, data, command, etc. All right. Now, with that background, do you have any questions? Focus on assignment 4, getting this add numbers, the first sprint, to work well. You could pop something in chat, or you can just unmute and ask the question. Yeah. So the question, it's a good question. What if we have 2 input boxes to add 2 numbers one time? Sure. But that's not what the user wants. You're saying, how do you know? Because I'm the user. Logically, think about a calculator. And by the way, if you created a calculator, you know, that was good, but again, it's not what the user wants. You got to trust me on this one. This is what the user wants. Any more than a single input box is going to be confusing. You see, what if we want to add 2 numbers? Well, I type in the first one, click, type in the second one, click, I'm done. You're saying, what if you want to add 1 number? We never add 1 number. But this way, then I can add multiple values. It doesn't matter how many. As soon as you have more than a single input box, you're mentally locking the user into thinking, oh, I got to do 2 values. And although we can control it behind the scenes, do they always, let's say if they want to add 4 values, these 2 do, next 2 do, fine. What if they want to add 5? Or whatever it might be. Yeah. So the reason I want to force you into a model like this, and by the way, you could have laid this out left to right also. That's just fine. But top to bottom works. I mean, we're all used to looking at things horizontally on our phone now. Sorry, vertically on our phones now. Good. Good question. Answer, do it this way. Yep. Exactly. So question. So user gets no feedback. The feedback that the user gets is the tactile feedback of pushing the button and then this running total updating. Initially, there's nothing in this running total box. Later on, we'll ask, should there be a 0 there? But initially, there's nothing. So I type 2.7, click here, I see 2.7. 5, I click 7.7. Now, some of you are thinking ahead. You're saying, well, and I know some of you tried to do this on your prototype or on your program. There's a little box over here that lists all the values that I've typed in. You know, not a horrible thought, to be sure. But for now, I want to focus on this. And there's a reason, so we can really get into the mindset of an event-driven app. Anything? Okay. Oh, and yeah. Grab this code. You need to do a couple other things. I asked you to clear. The one thing I didn't tell you is, you know how to clear the running total, but how do I clear this? If I got a button that says clear or reset, how do I get rid of what's here? And there are some ways. The tricky way is that you could probably tell from right now is, what if I put not a value there? Okay, like right here, text box 2 equal this. What if I just put an empty string? What if I put a blank in there? That would get rid of stuff, right? Yeah. And oh, by the way, your clear button, which is not, I'm sorry, not on this little form here. Your clear button would be a different event. It would be different code. There's a different method. Private void button 2 click. Do what you want to do as far as clear here, like reset your running total, wipe out the contents of the text boxes. Any other questions? Well, we're starting to bump. I always think, wow, I can cover all this material, and I can't. I need somebody smarter. Now, your task, if you didn't get it right, what you've already submitted, or didn't have a chance to submit it, do it. Do it this week. I want to see that before Friday. What's today? Wednesday? Sure. You work on it. You got other important classes like Professor Tallman. You just tell him, look, I'm busy. I got to do software engineering. Get that done. If a question comes up as you move along, feel free to email me. Again, I apologize. Monday and Wednesday, I got classes all day. A couple people emailed me and I couldn't see it until late today. If you really want my attention, you can ship it to locklear@cuw.edu, and that would pop up there rather than the CUI, but I will get to you. So, oh, and yeah, a couple of us using Studio 22, there's a couple funny issues with Studio 22 in deployment. I got to work through that, and hopefully I'll let you know, or I'll rely on a couple of you who have worked with this and are smarter than me to figure this out and share with the rest of us. Good. Any more questions, comments, or concerns? All righty. Work hard. Questions, contact me. Otherwise, have a great week. Long range forecast says you guys are going to cool down a little bit next week, and I'll hope that's true for you. Have a great week. I will see you next Monday.